What's up, everyone, and welcome to ClearTalk. So in this video, we're going to be talking about the fact that Mississippi, yes, I'm going local, Mississippi is not, I repeat, not going to redraw election maps for this year. I shit you not. The decision has come down from Mr. Tater-Tot, our governor, that he was not going to be holding the special legislature session to redraw the maps, and that the current maps or the current elections will just stand. And he is getting a shit ton of backlash from MAGA over this. But we're going to talk about it because MAGA, I'm here to tell you that there's a good reason for why he's doing this, and more than likely he's actually probably saving your ass in making this decision. So thank you very much for joining me here. If you would like, if you are new to the channel, welcome. If you would like to check out more from the channel, please do so. Consider subscribing, like, share, comment, all that good stuff to get more videos in front of more people. If you would like to check out videos from my other channels, please do that as well. If you like what you see, consider subscribing to JMDPLAY and puzzling there. And doing all the stuff over there as well, because all of that is for every channel, is free for you. It helps out those channels tremendously. I kind of butchered all of that. I'm thinking of how I just said that is just subscribe. Please, it helps out tremendously to all the channels. If you want to go further than that, though, Patreon there, $2. You can support any of the channels that you would like to help grow those channels, to help grow Patreon, help grow JMD Nation, and contribute to that growth how you would like to. Any contributional support you give is very much appreciated. I thank you very, very much. And if you are returning, you're freaking amazing. Yes, you are freaking amazing. Welcome back. Keep coming back, because you what makes JMD Nation. Okay, so what's going on here? What is going on here? So, as we know from the decision that came down from the Supreme Court in Louisiana, where they are basically were stating that, racial gerrymandering is illegal under the 14th and 15th Amendment or whatever. And so basically cutting down the Voters' Right Act. I mean, we've discussed this, which pushed all kinds of all the southern states particularly, but states all across the South to go, you know what, these maps that we've done to help, build up and give representation to black people is it's racial. That's racist. That's white people are being discriminated against. So we need maps that look all red. So they've been trying all across from Louisiana. Louisiana immediately stopped elections, immediately stopped ongoing primary elections to redraw maps. And you've had the push from Tennessee to redraw maps, Alabama to redraw maps, South Carolina to redraw maps, I think, and Mississippi to redraw maps, and probably a few others. And what's not being understood by MAGA, and what we're going to discuss here, is how each one of these states are kind of unique in why they are deciding or not deciding to do this, okay? And while all the other states so far are pushing to have this done, to have the redraws made, Mr. Tate Reeves, our Mississippi governor, has decided to not do it. And there is a reason why, and it's unique to Mississippi, okay? So what we have, and we're going to discuss that. So what happened, we had Mr. Tate Reeves here, Mr. Tater-Tot. It comes out because he went on Super Talk, which is a local radio talk station here in Mississippi, and he has this discussion about, the fact that, yes, he did call for a special session, but after the court decision to appeal, I guess, the current maps, and to vacate the current maps as illegitimate or racially gerrymandered, and that we could potentially redraw maps. he was basically stating that, this is going to be complicated. We cannot restate maps fast enough, and also to the degree that will not potentially hinder the existing people that are over the current Republican districts. So what he is basically he comes out as canceling that special session. So here Tate Reeves is canceling Mississippi's special session that was set to begin next Wednesday. Next Wednesday, after a federal appeals court vacated an order requiring the state to redraw its Supreme Court map. The Republican added he expects lawmakers to redraw congressional lines. Okay, and he's stating here, just to clarify, I said I expect lawmakers, because he was getting a lot of backlash and he's still getting it. I expect lawmakers to redraw congressional lines between now and the 2027 elections. I also expect them to redraw legislative and Supreme Court lines between now and 2027 elections. Now, why? And he's getting a lot of hate here. I mean, people are going at him, calling him a rhino, calling him a Democrat, calling him all kinds of trash, okay? Not good enough. All talk and no action. You will go down in infamy as a rhino, and you don't. If you don't act now on this, and this is what keeps being posted by all MAGA. The red state, the full ass red state of Mississippi, and that this is fair. This is fair. This is representative of this state, of all the people in this state, which is absolutely ridiculous. Although they actually, in this one, funny enough, I just noticed this. He actually has this district down here as Thompson District, which is Benny Thompson, which is the one that holds the current Democratic district, which actually runs up through here on the current map. So he actually self-owned himself there as well. Because he painted it red, but it says Democrat Thompson. So that's a lie. Lawmakers need to redraw congressional maps for the 2026 election. Here we go. This guy also, same thing, 4-0 map, even though this one shows Democrat. Tate, you bum. I guess you rhino or outright Democrat in disguise. You loser. You're going to be voted out. No, sir. These maps need to be redrawn. I mean, look at this. All this hatred. Yeah, we all understand. Too fucking late. Get it done for midterms. We're tired of being screwed by elected Republicans. Do your job, or all of is work together. Boy, this dude cannot. You're just as bad as John Thune. We say we are going to have a special session and then just say, just kidding. Bullcrap. Sir. No, remember. Then explain this. You are a leader. Act like it. Screw you. Primary this useless piece of shit. Vote this rhino out. I mean, I think this is a bot. I think that is a bot account anyways. I mean, calling him a scumbag. Again, somebody sharing the same dumbass thing. They are just hating on him like crazy all down through here. Just showing how much racism is still in Mississippi, for one. It is insane to argue that this is representative of Mississippi, that this is an accurate and fair representation of Mississippi, when the data just proves you completely wrong. Okay. The state is 30-something, almost 40% black. But and so you're literally not representing the black community at all. But also, you're not representing Democrats either. Or actually, should I be more accurate in saying you're not representing independents? Because what's interesting about Mississippi is that Mississippi, as far as voter registration, has more independents, people registered as independents, than they do Republicans or Democrats. So if you actually wanted to paint this right, it should just be either gray or purple or something, because you're not representing Republicans as far as actually labeling themselves Republicans are only like 30 something percent of the population. 34, 35%, somewhere around there. I can't remember the exact number. And Democrats are like 28 or 29%. Like, there's very close in who is registered as a Democrat and Republican. Independent, though, is like 40%. So the state of Mississippi is not red, even though a lot of that independent might be red. I have argued over and over and over and over again with people that the state of Mississippi, and what I've tried to stress, is not as Republican as Republicans think. And if Democrats would just get out and vote, Mississippi would wind up being a more purple state than anybody realized. But either way, this is not a representation, just like all the other maps for Louisiana, for Tennessee, for Alabama, for South Carolina. Anybody that keeps trying to paint these maps all red, that is not a representation of the state. For you to argue that that is a representation of everybody in the state, and if everybody is supposed to be represented one for one, you're not representing. You are gerrymandering for your specific politics. You're being completely unfair, and you're oppressing a good chunk of your state. And as simple as that. As simple as that. But what is interesting about the state of Mississippi, all right, is that the reason why Mr. Tater-Tot here has decided to not hold these elections, okay? Drum roll. Because Mississippi, unlike all these other states, has already had its primary. Our primary for the U.S. Senate and U.S. House was in March. That's right. Mississippi already held our primary election. Louisiana was getting ready on that following weekend from the court decision to start their elections. Even though like 40 something thousand ballots had already been sent back, because they had sent out ballots to like Louisiana military and people abroad, or those who were doing early voting, and like 40 something thousand of those votes had already came back into the state, and the governor just canceled those votes by canceling the primaries. So the election, even though technically hadn't started, people had already voted. In Tennessee, their primary is not until August. But as we've seen at the state legislature, state capitol, there have been monstrous protests in Tennessee over them trying to redraw the districts. There is severe backlash in Tennessee happening. In Alabama, their primary starts May the 19th. So it is getting ready to start. But they, in preparation for the Supreme Court decision, passed laws that if the decision came in favor of redrawing maps, that they would push, it would be legal for them to push their primaries for specifically the U.S. House and U.S. Senate back, and wind up having their constituents and citizens have to vote twice. They would go ahead and vote on May 19th for all local elections, but federal elections would be pushed to a to-be scheduled election. That's in Alabama. But Mississippi, on the other hand, has already had our primary. That was in March, once again. So if you are arguing that any upcoming election is invalid because of racial gerrymandering, it's racist for these maps to go forward in those elections, then you are also in the same breath stating that the primaries that have already happened were illegitimate. So you will wind up having to have those primaries rescheduled and revoted on. That's one hiccup for Mississippi. Secondly, Mr. Tater-Tot also feels that there's not enough time to effectively draw maps dividing Benny Thompson's district, the one Democratic district in the state. There's not enough time to break that up in a way that can be effective for the Republican agenda and for Republican strength. Because it being a majority black district, black community district, a majority black community district that also votes Democrat, coincidentally, is going to have to be split up between the other districts, which means you are actually adding black population to those other districts and Democrat votes to those other districts. So you are potentially causing a situation where even if you did run the primaries again, you could wind up changing the results of those primaries. Even the Republican primaries, because you could wind up having, because in Mississippi it's a free vote. You can register to vote and vote either way. You can vote for both Republican or Democrat. So when you vote, you could vote and change the results of the Republican primaries. And he's trying to make sure that those who won the primaries maintain their positions, maintain their results for the general in November. That's what he's doing. So he's actually helping you out. He's helping Republicans out by not having this, because of the potential that those Democratic districts or those districts will become more Democrat, and it will actually hurt. Even if they did stay the same, it could potentially cause a growth in the Democrat influence in those districts to where you could still potentially flip one of those districts blue. Maybe not all of them, but there's potential that you would wind up still losing a seat and still and losing a whole district in a whole different part of the state. And that would, and in turn, you would argue, MAGA would argue, that they have less representation under that circumstance, that more whites would be disenfranchised because they're not being represented. He stated that he does want the lines changed. He does want, he's targeting Benny Thompson's district to cut it out, but he wants to work and and have it drawn up in a way that will not have political backlash, will not have judicial backlash, and also have the support of the administration, because he said that he's going to work with the Trump administration to find out when and how the Mississippi should redraw lines. So he's still on board for it. But But the simple fact that we've already had primaries makes those primaries illegitimate if they were to go through with changing the lines. Simple as that. So he's willing to continue and allow for the general election in November to just maintain and hold in the current state so that he can make sure that the Mississippi still stays solid in the condition that it is and doesn't wind up in any way potentially hurting or losing seats. And this is not only for federal elections, but also its own state elections, because redistricting because they already lost a few. If you remember, they already lost a few state House seats this past time, giving more stronger. It was losing their supermajority, because we did have a supermajority in Mississippi of Republicans in the state Senate, state Congress. But he's also concerned with the state Congress losing even more representation on the Republican side, because those districts, the breakup of our state Senate districts, could also be influenced, having more Democratic voters. There's multiple layers to how this all works. And even that is not unique to Mississippi. There are multiple layers in these other states as well. And it's potentially going to cause problems for these other states that they aren't even recognizing. But I have to give it to Mr. Tater-Tot here that he's actually smart enough. He's not a complete dumbass, even though he is advantageous with the MAGA movement in maintaining power by caving on some things that MAGA wants, although he's not full-on MAGA. He is kind of a rhino, if I'm being honest. He's a full-fledged Republican, don't get me wrong. And he has MAGA-like tendencies in certain areas, but he's not full MAGA, even though he placates as if he is. And I have to give it to him here. He's smart enough to recognize the effects of making a decision like this that could ripple down and hurt Republicans in the actual state. So there's a lot. There's a lot going on, and that's the nuance with all these states. Again, but the argument around that a state should just be solid red, which all of these hard-pressed MAGA far-right people pushing and arguing even against this decision by Mr. Tater-Tot here, again, is just proving how racist and how partisan, how much they actually don't care about equal representation. They're willing and perfectly okay with gerrymandering in a way that disenfranchises anybody who doesn't agree with them. Whether it's the black community, whether it's Democrats in general, or any other minority group for that matter. It's their way or the highway. And to think that and it would be, I'm sorry, it would be enough. It's enough If you were openly going, yeah, of course I want a gerrymander. I want us to have full representation. I don't care about your vote. But then to those that actually are on top of that, arguing that if it's maintained, if it stayed the way it was in any of these states, that you are the one being disenfranchised when you are still have the majority representation. Maybe you specifically do not, because you may live in a district that is Democrat. But that doesn't mean that your state overall is not being overrepresented by your partisanness. It's selfish. Again, it falls on the fact that, and I've said this over and over again, that MAGA, the far right, Republicans in general, but MAGA specifically, are insanely selfish. They do not care about anybody else and what anybody else's representation or thoughts or considerations on policies or how they're affected or anything. They don't care. They are not for the betterment of everybody. They are for the betterment of themselves and themselves only. That's the reason why they are perfectly okay with supporting somebody like Trump, knowing that Trump also only cares about himself and himself only. As long as he is able to be influenced and persuaded to allow for policies that benefit them and themselves only. That's the reason why they vote for him. That's the reason why they support him. Their selfishness. They are extremely, extremely selfish. And on top of that, again, the idea that you think that you are being, your vote is being suppressed, and then to fight on the racial lines of me as a white voter, I'm being suppressed because this district is being considered mostly black. Get the fuck out of here, man. Get the fuck out of here. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. You have, let's talk about Mississippi here. Let's use it as an example. There are 4 districts in Mississippi, 3 of which are Republican, 1 is Democrat. The Democrat one happens to have a black representative. The other 3, though, are white. To argue your state as a whole is being misrepresented because 1 out of 4 is a black representative, when the state itself is over a third black. Even with 1 black representative, the black community is technically being represented. Ugh. You already have a majority representation as the collective white community of Mississippi, as far as on racial bounds. And we're not even breaking this down on partisan bounds. Because there again, you're also represented even in partisan bounds. Because again, Mississippi registration is more independent than it is Democrat or Republican. And that is unique to Mississippi opposed to everybody else around us. Louisiana, Alabama, Tennessee, all of them are like strictly like Republican, Democrat, very few independents or minority independent. With Mississippi, though, the majority voter registration is actually independent. And so for you to think, again, that this is represented of Mississippi just shows how ignorant and how racist and how partisan you are, how selfish you are. And just as much can be said again for the other states around. I mean, just be honest. Be honest about it. I actually applaud this decision. Our governor actually decided to stay within the bounds of the law with the fact that we've already held a primary. Elections have already been held. And not only is it already too close for changes to be made, even for a November election, much less these states that are trying to do it when elections are already going or literally happening within weeks. But the fact that we already had elections happen, we are past primary elections. Therefore, if you state again that the election map that currently stands is illegitimate for November, then it also was illegitimate in March. So you must redo those primaries. Now, if you're willing to do that, fine. But understand the intricacies of rescheduling primaries. And also on top of that, it's crazy to me how MAGA thinks that you just throw up a picture like this all over social media, whether it's Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, Tennessee, or South Carolina, or wherever the fuck. You throw it up, and just because you create this map and put it on social media, that all of a sudden that map is going to be representation of the state when the elections are held. Like, that is exactly what's going to happen. We redraw this, and we make new districts that we think are going to be all red. That's exactly what's going to happen on election day. That's not how that works. And if you think that Democrats and left-leaning people, left-leaning independents, or even what you consider rhinos for that matter, you're attacking. If you didn't think they were motivated to get out and vote before because of all the chaos and crap that the administration is doing, and we are seeing happen with even our local administrations, going through with these acts all across these states, you don't think that's going to motivate Democrats and left-leaning independents and whatnot? You don't think that's progressives, for that matter? You don't think that's going to motivate them to vote against you? Motivate them to go out and vote in higher percentages than ever before? Do you really want that to happen? Understand that Republicans win, and the most Republican of Republicans win when there's lower turnout. You think that when you create these maps that's going to disenfranchise enough people to where they're just not going to come out and vote. You're going to be like, oh, fuck it. It's pointless now. No. You are going to cause a blue, purple, whatever wave you want to call it, the likes that you have never seen before in your local states. When people are feeling like you are trying to take back all of these states to Jim Crow-like era, disenfranchising minorities and the black community in general, while painting it as partisan decision and partisan means, when we all know what it actually is. You are showing your colors. You are creating the possibility for a movement like the civil rights movement. Once again, you might be actually creating the possibility for a flip in all of these states like you've never seen before. Again, just because you paint a fucking picture of your state in all red, even though some of your dumbasses can't even tell that you still left as if it's a Democrat district. Just because you paint it and put it on Facebook, put it on Twitch, put it on X, put it on Instagram, put it on TikTok, whatever, does not mean that that's what's actually going to result in November or even in May or whenever Alabama holds theirs or whenever Louisiana holds their primaries or whenever Tennessee holds theirs in August. It doesn't mean that that's the results that are going to happen. You're showing your colors. And I'm not sure that you're actually ready for the opposition that you're going to get. Even from people that you think are going to be on your side, that you think represent your what you represent. Just because you're white, or just because you think other whites will just automatically vote in Republican, will vote for what you are asking for, does not mean it's going to happen. Again, Mississippi is way more blue than MAGA Mississippians and Republican Mississippians think. Anyways, this he was right. He actually made a good decision here. Now, does that mean I think he's a good guy? Hell no, I can't stand the guy. I think he's ridiculous. And I think he's holding back this state. I think he's been holding back this state since he stepped into the office. And after all, he has shown, even though he made this decision, he made it clear that the target is for this to ultimately happen. But it has to happen within the legal bounds of our state in the specific situation that we find ourselves in when it comes to these elections. So he's not good, but he made the correct decision here, whether you like it or not. So, again, I've said before, I give credit where credit's due, but I'm only going to give partial credit here because really he's doing the minimal. He's doing quite literally the minimal requirement here. He's doing the legal requirement. He's not willing to just blow the whole fucking state up and potentially cause domino ramifications for not only the federal elections, but state elections. He's actually smart enough to realize that. So I have to give him credit there. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me. And let me know what you think. Until next time, peace, clear talk. I'm out.